Alright, this is our second video in the partial quotient series. This is going to be a 3-digit dividend divided by a 1-digit divisor. The side that you should be on should say with video. Let's begin. We're going to start by reading the directions. 1. Find benchmark multiples for the divisor. So here we're going to find benchmarks for the divisor of 5. 2. Solve the division problem using partial quotients. Then we will use partial quotients here. And 3. Check your answer with multiplication down here. Our first problem is 836 divided by 5. So let's find some benchmark multiples for the divisor 5. Our divisor is 5, so we're going to be multiplying 5 by numbers to find groups that we can take out of 836. So the easiest thing to multiply by 5 is 1. 5 times 1 is 5. Then we'll say, all right, besides 5 times 1, another easy number, small number that I can multiply by is 5. 5 times 5, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Another easy number that we can multiply that's just slightly bigger than 5 is 10. 5 times 10 is, good, 50. Now, we have 1, 5, and 10. If we only take away 50 from 835, that's going to take us a long time, so we're going to keep going. I could multiply 5 times 100, because that's very easy. And that would be 500. There's a huge difference between 50 and 500. So what number could I multiply by 5 that's between 10 and 100? I can multiply 50 times 5. So 5 times 5 is 25, and then we put our 0 at the end. I could keep going. Bigger than 100 could be 500. So that would again be 25 with 2 zeros. Now, 2,500 is way bigger than 836. So we are not going to use this benchmark because it is too large. Let's go over to our partial quotients. We've got some good benchmarks. And remember, we always must write our divisor first. So I'm going to make my finger space and put 836 divided by 5. Now I'm going to draw a line down because on this side I am doing repeated subtraction, and then on the other side I'm finding my number of groups of 5. So now we have 836. Which of my benchmarks can I take out of 836 that is the largest? Well, 5 is small, 25 is small, 50 is small, 250. I could do that, but that'd be a few times. So 500 is going to be my best bet. I'm going to take away 500. So if I take away 500, 6 minus 0 is 6. 3 minus 0 is 3. And 8 minus 5 is 3. Super. So now I've used 500. Let's keep going. We can't use 500 again because that will be below 0. So what is the next largest number that I could take away? Well, 250 is the next largest number. So I'm going to take away 250. 6 minus 0 is 6. 3 minus 5, nope, can't do it. I'm going to regroup my 3 into 200s and then give 10 more over here, so I have 13. 13 minus 5 is 8, and 2 minus 2 is nothing. So now I have 86 left after I've taken away 500 and 250. So now that I have 86, what is the largest benchmark that I can take out? Or the largest multiple of 5? 50 is the largest multiple of 5. So I'm going to take away 50. 6 minus 0 is 6. 8 minus 5 is 3. Great. Now, I have 36. What is the largest multiple of 5 that I can take out of 36? Can't take 500, can't take 250, can't take 50 because that's still too big, bigger than 36. So I must take away 25. 6 minus 5 is 1. 3 minus 1 is 5. Alrighty, we have 11 left. I can come over to my benchmarks and say, okay, 5 is the smallest number that I have left, so I could take away 5. Or I could say, you know what, I know that 5 times 2, and I'm going to write this over here. 5 times 2 equals 10, and that's really close to 11. So I'm going to take away 10, and that gives me 1 left. So because 1 is smaller than my divisor of 5, I know that 1 is going to be a remainder. So now I have to figure out my number of groups. So next to the numbers that we've subtracted, we're going to write the number of groups of 5. So how many 5s, groups of 5, are in 500? Well, we can check our benchmarks. In 500, there is 100 groups of 5. Times means groups of. So how many groups of 5 are there? 100. All right, now we're on to 250. In 250, how many groups of 5 do I have? Well, in 250, there are 50 groups of 5. So I'm going to write 50. Then, our next number that we took away was 50. So in 50, how many groups of 5 were there? In 50, there were 10 groups of 5. So I'm going to write 10. Then 25 was the next number that we took away. In 25, how many groups of 10 were there? In our benchmarks, we can see that in 25, there were 5 groups of 5. And then we have 10 is our last number that we took away. In 10, there are how many groups of 5? 2 groups of 5. So now we need to total up all of these groups of 5. Count with me. 100 plus 50 is 150. Plus 10 more, 160. Plus 5, 165. Plus 2, 167. And then we have our remainder of 1. So our answer will be 167 remainder 1. But we need to check our answer before we can say that that is definitely correct. All right, so our answer that we got was or our quotient, was 167. And we have to multiply our quotient times our divisor, which our divisor was 5. So we're multiplying by our divisor. I'm going to draw my line over here so that I can multiply. So first I must multiply my 1's times my 1's. So I have 7 times 5. 7 times 5 is 35. Next, I have my 10's times my 1's. 60 times 5 is, well, 6 times 5 is 30. And then we put one more 0 there. So that would be 300. And we're making sure that we're lining up our 1's and our 10's. And then lastly, we have our 100's times our 1's. So we have 100 times 5, which is 500. And I need to line up my numbers, my digits. We're going to add these together. 5 plus 0 plus 0 is 5. 3 plus 0 plus 0 is 3. 3 plus 5 is 8. Is that what we started with? It is not. We started with 836. So we need to have one more, which means we need to still add our remainder of 1. If I add my remainder of 1, I have 836, which means my quotient, 167 in each group of 5, with 1 left over, was correct. Awesome. 602 divided by 8. Now I know this is going to be much more efficient to use partial products, because if I used a place value chart, because 600 is not easily divided into 8, we're going to be regrouping a lot. So I'm going to use partial products for this problem. We're going to start by doing our benchmarks. Our divisor is 8, so we will be multiplying to find multiples of 8. Go ahead, pause the video, and find multiples of 8. All right, 8 times 50. 8 times 5 is 40, and we have one more 0 in the ones place. And then 8 times 100 is 800, which is larger than 602, so I'm not going to use that one. When we come over and write 602, and remember your finger space so we have room here, divided by 8. On this side, I'll be doing repeated subtraction. And on this side, we'll be doing groups of 8. What's the largest multiple of 8 that I can take away from 602? 400. Go ahead, pause the video if you're still trying to catch up with me. We always start by subtracting in the ones place. 2 minus 0 is 2. 0 minus 0 is 0. 6 minus 4 is 2. All right. I'm looking and I'm saying I have 202 left. I can no longer take away 400. But 80 is pretty small. Perhaps if I doubled this, and did 8 times 20, I could get something between 80 and 400. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try 8 times 20 because I want a bigger number than 80. 8 times 20, 8 times 2 is 16, and then a 0 at the end. Yeah, I could take away 160. Could I do 8 times 30? 8 times 3 is 24, and then a 0 at the end. No, that is way too big. So I'm going to take away 160. 2 minus 0 is 2. Now I could regroup here and put 10 more in the tens place, but instead I'm going to take my finger and cover up the ones place. So we're just going to be looking at the tens and the hundreds place. So now I have 20 minus 16. So I'm going to count up from 16. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There's only 4 difference between 16 and 20. So 20 minus 16 is 4. Now I have 42 left. What's the largest multiple of 8 that I can take away from 42? 400 is way too big. 80 is too big. 40 is just small enough. I have 2 remaining. So I'm going to write remainder 2 because it is smaller than my divisor. Now we're going to see how many groups of 8 are in each of the numbers that we subtracted. Well, in 400, how many groups of 8 were there? There were 50 groups of 8. In 160. In 160. How many groups of 8 were there? There were 20 groups of 8. So we have 20 groups of 8. And in 40. How many groups of 8 were in 40? There were 5 groups of 8. Now we need to figure out what's our total number of groups of 8. Well, 50 plus 20 is 70, plus 5 is 75 groups of 8. And then we have 2 remaining. So we're going to write that up here. 75 remainder 2. And we're going to check our answer. So our quotient is 75. Our divisor that we're multiplying by is 8. And we're going to multiply that and see if we get 602. Go ahead, pause the video, multiply this, and see if it checks. And you get 602 as your dividend. All right, so we're going to multiply our 1s times our 1s. 5 times 8 is 40. And we multiply our 10s times our 1s. This is 7 tens, which is 70 times 8. Well, 7 times 8 is 56. 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we have a 0 in the ones place. We're going to add them together. 0 plus 0 is 0. 4 plus 6 is 10. And 1 plus 5 is 6. 600. Is that what we started with? No, we started with 602. We need 2 more, so we must add our remainder of 2. 602. That is what we started with. So 75 remainder 2 is correct. Moving on. 957 divided by 4. Right now our divisor is 4. So our benchmarks are all going to be multiples of 4. Pause the video and find all your benchmarks up to 957. You do not have to have all of the same benchmarks that I do. If you can think of other ones that would be more efficient, that is fine. Pause the video. 4 times 5 is 20, and then another 0 in the ones place would be 200. And then 4 times 100 is 400. All right, let's go over and write our problem. We have 957 divided by 4. Then we draw our line down to separate our repeated subtraction. From our groups of how many? 4. Pause the video if you need to catch up. We have 957. What's the largest amount that we can take away? We can take away 400. 7 minus 0 is 7. 5 minus 0 is 5. 9 minus 4, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 5. All right. Again, what's the largest multiple of 4 that we can take away from 557? We can take away 400 again. 7 minus 0 is 7. 5 minus 0 is 5. 5 minus 4, we have 1 left. Now we have 157. That's too big for 200, but 40 is way too small. We're going to be subtracting forever. So I suggest that we come over here and try multiplying 4 times another number. I'm going to try 40 since 157 isn't that far away from 200. So 4 times 4 is 16, and then a 0 in the ones place. Ooh, 160 is just a tiny bit too big. So let's try 30. 4 times 30 is, well, 4 times 3 is 12, and then a 0 in the ones place. So 30 will work. So we're subtracting 120 from 57. 7 minus 0 is 7. 5 minus 2 is 3. 1 minus 1, nothing. So we have 37 remaining. What is the largest multiple of 4 that I can take away from 37? I can take away 20. So I'm going to take away 20. 7 minus 0 is 7. and 3 minus 2 is 1. Now, the only benchmark that I have written down that I can still take away is 4. So I could subtract 4, get an answer, subtract 4 more, get an answer, subtract 4 more. But I can multiply by 4. So I'm going to quickly over here say, all right, I know 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. And 4 times 4 is 16. 16 is as close to 17 as I can get. So I'm going to take away 16. 17 minus 16 is 1. Because 1 is smaller than our divisor of 4, we know that 1 is going to be our remainder. Now, all the numbers that we subtracted, so that have a minus sign by them, we are going to find how many groups of 4 are in each of those numbers. So in 400, how many groups of 4 are there? Well, in 400, there are how many groups of 4? There are 100 groups of 4. 100, great. Same thing, 400. How many groups of 4 are there? 100. There it is. 120. So I'm going to come down here to 120. How many groups of 4 are in 120? Well, there's 30 groups of 4. Okay. Then we have 20. How many groups of 4 are in 20? In 20, there are 5 groups of 4. And then in 16. In 16, I have 4 groups of 4. So now I'm going to total all of these up. I'm going to add them together to find out how many total groups of 4 we have. 100, 200, 230, 235, plus 4 more is 239 groups of 4, with a remainder of 1. I'm going to write that answer up here. 239, remainder 1. Now I'm going to check my answer. My quotient was 239. My divisor was 4. And then we multiply those together. I'm going to pause the video. You can multiply those out. See if you get 957. When we multiply, I'm going to use partial products, although you can use an area model. We're going to multiply our 1s times our 1s. 9 times 4. You can use your 9s trick and find that 9 times 4 is 36. Then we're going to multiply our 10s times our 1s. So that is 3 10s, which is 30, times 4 is 3 times 4 is 12, with a 0 at the end, which is 120. And then we have 200s times 4. So 200 times 4 is, 2 times 4 is 8, with 2 zeros at the end. So we have 800. When we add those up, we have 6, 5 10s, and 9 hundreds. And lastly, we are going to add our remainder of 1 and get 957 which is what we started with. So 239 remainder 1 is correct. All right, super job, guys. We're going to go on, flip over to the back side, the on your own. You will complete this on your own side, on your own, for 3 digits divided by 1 digit division. So you will begin with 297 divided by 3. Find your benchmarks, do your partial quotients, and then check your answer for each of the 3 problems. Happy learning!